Hi, my name is Evangeline and I am an assistant editor at Michael O'Mara Books.
Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this week's interview we're looking at editorial again, and Evangeline Sellers is here to tell us what it's like to be an assistant editor at Michael O'Mara Books. Hope you find it useful and enjoy.
Hi, my name is Evangeline and I am an assistant editor at Michael O'Mara Books. Something I wish I could do but I can't is go to space. More specifically, I just want to sort of see the Earth from maybe the moon or the International Space Station. But also I don't, because everything about getting from the Earth to the moon is terrifying to me. So my job and what I do on a day-to-day basis, it does vary quite a lot. There's a lot of variety in my role. Some weeks are a lot busier than others. I was recently promoted from editorial assistant and I'm still doing all of the tasks that I was doing when I was in that role, but now I have more responsibility and additional tasks that I have taken on. There's lots of admin that I am currently doing. Lots of maintaining spreadsheets, databases. I spend a lot of time on Biblio. I answer inquiries from other departments and I prepare sales materials for them. I clear permissions. I also read all of the submissions that we get in for our imprint. On the editing side of things though, I look after our paperbacks and I work alongside our editors on our hardback books. I do copy editing and proofreading. Lots and lots and lots of checking the books again and again and again, all the little parts. There's a lot of things that have to be done every day, every week, but there's always something new happening, something new to learn. Something I wish I knew about the industry sooner, I guess, is I wish I knew how London-centric it was sooner. I did have to move to London to get a job, to get my start in publishing, and I was only able to do that through things like the Spare Room project, because I just didn't know people that lived in London. Projects like that are just so helpful to people that do not live you know, in or around London. So yeah, I guess naively I assumed there was a publishing house in just sort of every corner of every city, which is not the case. I just wish that I knew sooner the sort of barriers to entry from people coming from outside of London, but then also just the barriers to entry in general. Publishing, like a lot of other industries, has a really shameful diversity problem. There are amazing people trying to address this and balance this and speaking out against it, and I think that's great, you know, and there's so many people that have amazing ideas and enthusiasm for books in this industry, and I'm really excited for the future of this industry. I imagined publishing as this sort of utopia, like in some sort of shiny movie. So I have weekly meetings with my team and production to discuss the progress of our books. We also have editorial meetings where we discuss the content and the covers of the books, and also acquisitions. We have launch meetings where we discuss our titles with sales. We have lots of wee ad hoc meetings about different admin systems, maybe with one or two other people. I have little catch-up meetings to replace not being in the office. The main meeting is quite similar across publishing houses. It really differs who goes to which meetings, etc. Well, I got a degree in English, Journalism and Creative Writing from the University of Strathclyde. When I started my course I wanted to be a journalist, but I changed my mind. There was a publisher, she came in and talked about her publishing house, and I was just hooked from there on in. Once I realised you could work at a publishing house, I decided that is what I wanted to do. Of course I graduated, applied for a lot of jobs, was rejected from a lot of jobs, but I had some work experience placements lined up in London. I moved down to London temporarily. I did a publicity and marketing sort of role, and then I went to Michael O'Mara Books and I was there for 2.5 weeks as work experience, and then I temped for another 2 weeks, and then at the end of those 2 weeks I was offered a permanent role as an office administrator, and that was my first full-time permanent position in publishing, and then I moved to London for real. I think one of my favourite memories of publishing so far has been just being at London Book Fair. Very stressful lead up to London Book Fair. The whole thing is a pretty stressful experience because there's just so much going on. But at the same time, when you just have that moment to walk around and you can just see people from all over the world that care about books, care about publishing, care about stories, I remember feeling quite, overwhelmed by just like that realization that everyone there, was involved in some way in this publishing industry. Great, exciting, so cool, I think that's one of my favourite memories. My favourite part of my job is probably the variety, and I do work in a small company, so I feel like I've just learned so much and there's just so much to learn. I think that's been really great. I love words, I love playing with words, I love fixing words. Some skills that I would say are really useful for being successful in a role like mine. Something like an eye for detail, it comes up again and again in job descriptions, but it is really important. There are other things like, computer literacy, knowledge of proofreading marks, things like InDesign, all really helpful things. I think also an awareness of the industry. I think that can't be understated how important that kind of thing is, and just your your knowledge of how things work. I found it really difficult at the beginning to ask questions, but it's so important. There really aren't any silly questions, and anyone that makes you feel silly for asking them is really, not someone you really want to be around. I find most people in publishing are really helpful and they want you to succeed, so ask those questions. There's so many times where there's an abbreviation of something that someone will say, and because they just say it every day of their lives, they forget that you might not know what it is. It's totally okay to ask these things. Don't just sit in silence being confused. Just ask and someone will be really happy to clear that up for you. Your attitude can be a really good skill as well that can help you. Having patience is a really good skill, and a can-do attitude. And I don't think anyone should be expected to be on at 100% every single moment, but having enthusiasm and enjoying what you do is really important. I think some advice I would give to someone who wants to get into a similar role as mine is first to check that you definitely do want to get into editorial. This is just because I've spoken to lots of people in other departments who first thought that they wanted to get into editorial, but then they found the department that they're currently in and they wouldn't change it for the world. So I just think it's really important that you keep an open mind and have a look into all of the departments and decide from there. If you do want to do editorial, obviously that's great, that's what I do, that's what I love. Definitely read widely. I think that's pretty evergreen advice for most problems. Keep as much of an awareness of the industry as possible, read up on publishing news and things like that. I know we can't network in real life right now, but social media is quite a good tool, especially Twitter. In these times, there's so many really smart publishing people who've been in the industry a lot longer than me that, are giving their time to sort of help other people get into roles. There's great newsletters and podcasts and Facebook groups out there for you to join if you're looking for a role. I know it can be tricky, like I really understand that, and I understand what it's like to get rejected from a lot of jobs, so my advice would be, if this is something you want to do, keep going. You will get there, and there are lots of people that are really willing to help you. Yeah, just keep an open mind, reach out. Good luck, you've got this. One book that I think everyone should read is Just Kids by Patti Smith. I don't have the book here, I wish I had it with me so I could hold it up or something. I haven't read it for a couple of years, but when I did read it, I thought it was, beautiful and brilliant, and I still think about it a lot. I don't think I've read a memoir that's so tender, and the writing is so beautiful, and it's about art and love. I think it's a great book that I think a lot of people would enjoy or get something from. That would be the book.
I hope you found that useful, and remember, every Wednesday I'll post a new interview with a publishing professional.